So we will get generic methods in Go at some point in the future, possibly in Go 1.27. And maybe we will get proper enums by 2040. Obviously, I'm just kidding here. However, in this video, we are going to quickly take a look at what really generic methods will solve or will resolve and what might be an alternative that you can use right now. Now, as stated in the beginning, we will probably get generic methods in Go. And there have been a recent discussion about generic methods in Go, and even the proposal got accepted, which is quite cool. So if you're going to look at this solution right here, there is, however, quite a big catch with this solution and this proposal. I mean, this is just the starting point of generic methods. However, this right here only really allows for generic struct methods, but not for generic methods on interfaces, which is kind of a limitation already and really bad if you are working a lot with interfaces in Go. However, let's just explore two possible use cases for generic struct methods in Go. Now, I think the most classic example is to have just a typed list and you want to kind of transform its elements into a different type. Now, before the proposal, actually, we could have something like a top level function and not a method to declare this map function. Obviously, we would kind of lose method chaining and the function floats outside of its type, which is kind of a bad design, right? So what we could have is we could just have a map function and then just use generic function parameters right here. So we could use t and u and then specify the type, like any, for example. And then we would use l and then maybe a pointer to a list and then declare the generic function parameter right here as t. Let's just quickly create this list struct. So we could say a type list and then we will say t any. This will be a struct, and in here we will maybe have items, right? And this will be a slice of type t. And obviously this map function just takes in a closure, so we can just say fn, and fn is of type func. And right here it just takes in a first function parameter, which is just the generic type parameter t, and it can return u. And in the end it will, or this whole map function will resolve into a type which is of type pointer, list, and then u. Let's just quickly implement the logic here. Or before we do this, let me quickly actually explain what's going on with this map function definition. So before generic methods, developers need to use like this kind of top level generic functions right here to transform data types within a struct. Now this approach right here just caused kind of the function to float outside the type's namespace and broke method chaining, as explained earlier. And we have a generic parameter t right here, and this is obviously kind of problematic because it is the same generic parameter t as in the list struct, right? So we kind of have a duplication of generic type parameters right here. And as I said earlier, fn is just a closure, and basically it is there to map the values, and it accepts as a function parameter the list values and returns a possibly new type. Now I think the logic should be quite straightforward. What we will create is just the results right here. So we will have the list and then basically define the generic type parameter u right here. And then this will be returned in the end. Let's just iterate over our items, and what we can then say, obviously this is l.items. And then what we can say is just result.items, let's just call this result and not results, is equal to append result items and then item. And obviously we need to transform this, so fn and then item. Okay, and this is actually the way you would kind of define a generic method in Go. So let's just have the solution here with the proposal in mind. So what we would have is a function and then a pointer to a list, and then we will define t right here. And then we'll have the method basically, which is called map. And obviously here we have u any, and then we still have the closure right here. And it will return obviously a list with the generic type parameter u, and we will basically have the same logic right here. All that is changing is just the function definition, or the method definition in this case. So with this proposal, we can actually have a generic method to a specific struct, which is really lovely. But what is actually going on right here? Now it's important to highlight that u is now scoped exclusively to the map method. And this just prevents the type parameter from really bleeding into the core list definition while keeping transformations tightly coupled to the struct. Okay, now let's just take a quick look at a second use case, which is an ORM query builder, or basically an object relational mapping query builder. Now, generally, a well-designed ORM query builder is just a fluent chainable API where each method basically returns a modified query. And the problem basically without struct methods is just that there are several ORM operations natural need to introduce a new type, for example, for eager loading, a relational type, or even grouping by a key. And this is kind of problematic because you actually lose the chaining. Now, what I mean by that is quite simple. Let's just create a db struct right here. And this just represents our database handle. Now, in a real app, this would basically hold a connection pool. And then let's just create a query right here with a generic type parameter. And this will be of type tAny, and this clearly will be a struct. In here we will have a pointer to a db, but then also a preloads slice. And the query right here is just a generic kind of type, and tAny just means it can work with any type, so user, order, product, etc. And you can think of t as a kind of placeholder that gets filled in later. So let's just create a function which we will call new query to actually start building our new query. And then clearly we need to define the generic parameter right here, and then we will also have the db right here, and this will return in the end a query t, right? A new query just should create a new query for a specific type t, and then when you call new query with, for instance, the user, t just becomes the user everywhere inside this query. So let's just return a new query right here. We'll define t and then db. Now let's just have our main entity right here, which will be a user. This will be of type struct, and then we will have roles, and it will have just a slice, or the type will be a slice or role. And then maybe we'll also have an address right here. This will be of type address. Let's just create a role. This will be a simple empty struct, and then an address right here. Obviously, this is really simplified. And then let's just have maybe a method, right? So func and then q query t. And then we'll have, or we'll name this method find, and the destination will be of a pointer slice t, and it will return a possible error. Now let's just return nil right here. You can just imagine it, we like pretend that we will actually run an SQL query right here in this find method. But for now, we will just keep it empty. Now, generally what we could have is an include method. However, the problem is, like I said earlier, that generic methods do not exist. Therefore, we need to declare this function outside of its type. So we'll have include and then trAny, and then it will basically take in a query t, and then we'll have a selection or selector closure basically, which will be of type function, and it will return r, and then in the end we will just have a pointer to a query t, right? This cell in this case is just a selector closure, and the ORM really would use something like reflection to see that you requested, for example, the roles field. And in a real library, you would map the go field to a database column name. But right here with our logic that we will implement in a minute, we are just going to append a placeholder, right? So what we could do is just q.preloads, append q preloads, and then we'll say unknown, and we will return q. Now, to explain this include function, include is just, in this case, a standalone top level function and not a method. It basically needs two type parameters, right? T is the main entity, and r, which is basically the related entity being included. And because it is a function, we have to kind of pass the query as the first argument and then capture the return value. Now, we could obviously refactor this possibly in Go 1.27 to be a generic method. So what we could do is just query and then t and then include, right? Now this is a method, a generic method now, and rAny, and then basically selector function tr, and then it will basically return the same thing. And then we'll have our logic right here. But this is not possible right now. However, this will be possible whenever this proposal is implemented and published, right? And of course, you can think of this as kind of a big change, because include is now a method on query t, and the extra rAny after the method name right here is just a new generic method syntax. And R is just a separate type parameter just for this method, while T is already known from the query T. But obviously this is not possible right now, so let's just comment this out. And then let's just have a look at how we would actually use this in our main function. Let's just have a simple empty user slice right here to just hold the results, and then we will create a new query. The generic type parameter will be user, and then we will say db, right, empty. Quite simple. So we're going to create a specifically designed query for our user struct. And now this step 2, because step 1 was basically create the query first, and the step 2 would be just to add the first include. So we can say q, because this is not a method, it is a function, we just have to say q is equal to include. And then we would say q func and then user. This would return a slice of roles, and then return u.roles. Let's just do the same thing maybe with the address as well. So we say address and then u.address. And then last but not least, we are going to kind of execute the query with our find, right? And then we'll say users. Obviously this won't really do anything. But like what you see right here, what the problem actually is that we have to reassign q because include returns a new query. And it's also important to know that we pass q as an argument right here. And this kind of breaks the fluent dot chain and forces us to read the code inside out rather than left to right, right? And this would actually work right here. But how would this look like if we would have generic methods? Now we would have the same thing, right? Q and then new query. But what we can then do is we could just leverage the dot chain. So we would say dot include and then function, basically the same thing we have right here. And then we say dot again, right? Obviously this would be like this. And then instead of role, we would have address, and this would return u.address. And then we would say dot and then find users, right? And this is how it literally would look like if we would have generic methods. So here for our roles, R is now inferred as the slice of role, and then the third step, which is the include of our address, the R is now inferred as address. And basically what is going on is that we start with the new query, right, and then just call the dot include directly, and Go just figures out this R automatically from the closure return type. Now obviously there are a few alternatives that could maybe sometimes work, like having a well-fitting interface which kind of describes the generic behavior of your data. One example here is the io.reader. On the other hand, you could just use multiple functions to only support a few data types. For instance, the strings and bytes packages come with pretty much the same set of functions. And obviously the last resort would be to just use any or an empty interface if you have little information about the data. Then you could combine it with type assertions and possibly reflection as well. But all in all, I personally think that generic methods would definitely improve things and the developer experience a lot, and it would improve ergonomics as well. And that's all for now. Hopefully these generic methods will be released as soon as possible. Now if you are interested in recursive type constraints in Go 1.26, then feel free to check out this video right here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, have a lovely day, and bye bye.